Hey, it's a Monday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com podcast Heat Wrestling also as well. But I'm here with Mr. Robert Karplus, WWE Creative _ish. He's a former WWE writer. Robert, happy Monday to you. Strange things are afoot at the streaming Circle K. Dang.
Wow, what a way to open. He's forgotten all the variety of media entities that he actually works for. He's forgotten the line from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but he did remember to show up here and send the right link. So we're going to take our victories where we can get it. Happy Monday to all of you joining us wherever you are in the world. We'll say hi to some of the folks in the chat. Willie Thornbrew says, a week from today, will we be celebrating John Cena in a Ric Flair style send-off on Raw? Yeah, that would be my guess, is probably how we're gonna round this out. You know, I know John's last match obviously is this Saturday, so it is very possible that next Monday could be a farewell to Cena.
Would you like that?
What?
Would you like that?
Yeah, I think a well-deserved send-off to John Cena would make the most sense. It's an opportunity to open the door for something else potentially to happen. It's all going to come down to the finish of the match. You know, if hypothetically, theoretically, there is a world in which Gunther absolutely destroys John Cena. John Cena is stretchered out as if we're never going to see him again. He's going out on his shield. Then I don't know that I necessarily need to see him on Raw. That maybe it is, all right, John Cena is dead and buried in the world of WWE, and we've moved on. If John won, maybe this is an opportunity for one last something. But, we'll see what that story looks like. Warner Breeze says, hello, RNI. Tony D is back in NXT, and by the looks of his beard and jacket, he just got back from visiting Dom in Pittsburgh. Look at you hanging out with your cousin, Tony. Johnny Disco throwing us a quick hello, RNI. Happy Monday. And Cammy Star says, so starts a week taken over by Cena. If only that were the case. Tony Gong says, spent the weekend in Pittsburgh for Steel City Con. Dom wasn't kidding about how cold it is. How cold is it in Pittsburgh?
It's really cold. I didn't even go outside yet today. It's like 26 degrees right now. Feels like 11 or something, I think. Not fun.
Wrestling Old Head says, yo, RNI, top of the after morning to you. Super excited to hear your thoughts on the aftermath of the highly anticipated Ring of Honor final battle. In the words of Homer Simpson, by the way, I was being sarcastic. Did not get a chance to watch Final Battle. I will say I've watched SmackDown. I watched NXT Deadline.
Did you?
And I watched Collision. Myself and Scott Chaplin are going to be recording a special Patreon where we're literally going to be talking Collision and NXT Deadline and SmackDown for the Working Stiff Patreon subscribers. But there is a lot of news to get to, Dom. First and foremost, it wasn't on your run sheet, but it is worth pointing out. This morning, they announced the nominees for the 2026 Golden Globes. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson nominated for Best Actor for Smashing Machine.
Smashing Machines is Mark Kerr. How about that? Do you think it's well earned, Robert? What do you think about that?
I mean, I haven't seen the film. It isn't streaming in a situation yet where I'm comfortable with watching it. Namely, I'm not going to spend the $20 it costs to rent the Smashing Machine. I wasn't going to go out to the theaters necessarily to see it. Once it's streaming somewhere, I'm sure I'll enjoy it in some capacity. It seems like a fairly straightforward Rocky style movie where it's based on a true story. We kind of know what the ending is. Dwayne is someone who has always cared about getting that critical reception, that critical acceptance. It's very Vince McMahon-esque. Vince always wanted the respect of Hollywood. And a lot of the actions he took over the years were based on getting that mainstream acceptance. And eventually he kind of was like, you know what, to hell with you guys. Hulk Hogan was not chasing critical acclaim with pretty much anything he did in the theatrical space. Batista is someone who has gone niche, and I wouldn't be surprised someday if he doesn't wind up getting nominated. John Cena, honestly probably deserves some recognition for what he does on Peacemaker.
Yeah, he's pretty darn good with that. And like, yeah, he's got some range on him. John does. Rock, I always kind of put into the category of like a Stallone. Like Stallone was that top action movie star and did a lot of that stuff. And then like, a little bit of that star kind of faded and he wanted to do something a little bit off the beaten path and he chose Copland.
Well, yes. So Stallone did do Copland. Keep in mind, Sylvester Stallone did win, the Oscar for Best Picture for Rocky,
Absolutely.
which is
Yes.
the film that sprung forth from his pen.
Yes.
Dwayne always picked a unique choice, being in Be Cool, where it was considered controversial at the time that he was going to be playing an effeminate gay character.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, I may hurt his brand." He was in Southland Tales, which is a movie a lot of people are gonna be like, "Huh?" That was the Donnie Darko follow-up. And in a world that could have been a critical darling, an art house classic, it definitely was not. But he tries to make these decisions over the years that are not all just it's going to be Dwayne Johnson versus an earthquake, Dwayne Johnson versus a giant gorilla, Dwayne Johnson, in Jumanji. So Devin Dowling says Walking Tall was freaking awesome.
I liked
Walking
it.
Tall was not a bad movie.
Yeah.
He was good in the I think was it The Rundown with Christopher Walken and Sean
Oh, The
William
Rundown.
Scott.
The
Yeah,
Rundown.
is it The
I
Rundown?
like that movie a lot. That was great.
He had a lot of charisma. This is what he was going for. He wanted to get that Golden Globe nomination. You can kind of tell when there's performers who are chasing that nomination in some form or fashion, that they just desperately want and needed. I think this is the validation that he needed. He didn't care about the box office for this film. This was, am I going to get the nomination for Golden Globe? Will it carry on to be an Oscar nominee? Probably not.
Sometimes it does, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't.
With him, no. The part of the reason he benefited from this is the screwy nature of the Golden Globes nomination process is that musical or comedy category. To call one battle after another a comedy is a stretch.
Yeah, it's definitely I haven't seen the movie, but I do know I've heard
It's
like
a tremendous film, but and I know that it's based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, Vineland, and I've read that novel, and it is funny in a sense of like it's funny, but it's not funny. So yes, it's a comedy in the way that people like to make fun of The Bear by saying, well, The Bear is a comedy because it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And sadly, no nominations for Raw or SmackDown at the Golden Globes. The streak continues.
Jeez. Yeah, that was a big topic last year, wasn't it?
It was, because you know what? The Bloodline story was really compelling and really well built. And now the big storyline in wrestling is media mergers.
My goodness gracious. Yes. The as the world still turns, we have more streaming services still turning. That is Paramount is making a hostile bid to get Netflix out from under Warner Brothers Discovery. And Robert, it's a pretty interesting. We talked about this last week, how crazy it is to be a fan of wrestling because it opens you up for so many doors. And you were talking about how it did it for you. And like, this is like just another ripple of all that.
Yeah. So part of the wrinkle, and we had said this when we first talked about the Netflix supposed acquisition of Warner Discovery, that we weren't sure how it was going to shake out under the Netflix structure. If this were to go through, which they're maintaining it's going to go through, TBS, TNT, and CNN would be spun off under the Discovery umbrella. It would be a separate company. It would not be part of this Netflix world. So I had said last week, I said there's the possibility there was going to be multiple splintering. So in theory, AEW can continue to air on TBS and TNT under a separate umbrella under this Discovery Global channel, big company that would be built.
Let me add too that it's still going to be David Zaslav that's appointed onto that as well.
It'd be Zaslav. So we said, there's no reason why they would necessarily cut loose a couple of television shows that draw good numbers for them. The bigger concern would be what it would look like for HBO Max, since HBO Max would potentially be under the Netflix umbrella.
Yes.
Paramount woke up this morning and they were feeling salty. Dom.
Very, very much so.
Clearly, they They wanted a heel turn to make it seem like a babyface turn, and they are now attempting a hostile takeover, essentially.
Well,
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna add some context. So, like, unlike Netflix's bid, Paramount's offer would be all cash, backstopped by the Ellison family's family fortune. The company also said it has a $54 billion funding commitment from the Bank of America, Citi, and private equity firm Apollo Global. The total value of the deal would be more than $108 million. Ellison, this is Dave Ellison, Larry Ellison.
Billion.
We're really here to finish what we started. He told NBC after the announcement happened. And then they also said this would be good for the movie business, the theater business, saving the
So
theater.
eventually we're going to learn that the consortium was really Ric Flair. The consortium was me. One of my all-time favorite lines in the history of professional wrestling. Tony Gong says, yes, Paramount is Seth Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania. So basically what happened here was the board at Warner Discovery selected the Netflix bid, and they were now going down the path of letting the lawyers do their lawyer thing, and then preparing to go in front of regulators to get that approved. What Paramount has done is they are going directly to the shareholders. They're saying the board, don't trust them. They're not taking the best deal. We are bringing you an even better deal, so you shareholders should vote on this. This is not the first time something like this has happened. It was 04, 05, somewhere in that window where Comcast tried to do a hostile takeover of Disney.
Wow.
And they go directly to the shareholders to say, everyone that owns shares, you should vote for what you think is the better deal. And this is the kind of storytelling in WWE they used to do over the years where like Vince was like, well, who's in charge of the board? And we don't know. And fans were ultimately like, I don't care. Just give us our friggin' wrestling. And that's the world that we wound up in, where this is important for the wrestling landscape right now is if Paramount ultimately winds up being successful in this, they would acquire TBS and TNT. Mm-hmm. This is the whole kit and caboodle. They would get TBS, TNT, and CNN, unlike the Netflix deal. And we know that Paramount is the future home of UFC starting next month, which is controlled by TKO. So now you are in a world where Paramount controlling the networks that's airing AEW, but is very much in bed with TKO. Will TKO try to leverage some control and saying, hey, let's try to push and get rid of Tony Khan and the programming that he's got there? It's going to get ugly. That's for damn sure. Right now, it's not going to affect WWE. They're still going to be on Netflix today, tomorrow, and forever until this deal is done. But we said last week, they are not single-threaded. They are sort of across all of the major entertainment platforms. They're on ESPN. They're on Peacock. They're on Paramount. They're on traditional television in some sense, with both being on the CW and on cable on the USA Network, as well as international streaming rights deals. It's just absolutely wild where we're at with it. And on the one hand, Netflix, people in the entertainment industry are concerned about it because they don't know what it's going to mean for theaters. Mm-hmm. The theater industry kind of did this to themselves. We think back, if you're Dom's age or my age, we remember growing up in the Napster era, where we were sick of paying $18, $20, up to $30 for a CD.
Do you remember that, guys?
Yes, going in, it was literally like locked, and you had to like undo the thing. And I worked at Target; it was a pain in the ass to undo that thing for people, just to be able to hear that one great Nickelback song that was constantly on WWE programming instead of I'm joking. There's no great Nickelback songs. There's no remotely tolerable Nickelback songs, but Napster gave way to the current world of here's what Spotify is, and here's what all the places you get our podcast and streaming. Right. Going to a movie theater is not a pleasant experience, hasn't been a pleasant experience for decades. In a lot of cities, a lot of the movie theaters are not really well kept up. The decorum and behavior of folks that are watching those movies. They're playing on their phone, they're talking, they're disruptive. The concession costs, the general just logistics of going out to a theater and it being worth your entertainment dollar has led to people saying, I'm much happier watching something on streaming. When industries make those changes, it's very hard to go back. Can you imagine if WWE tomorrow went back to the old pay-per-view model?
Yeah.
We're going to spend 40, 50 bucks a month to watch, in your house, It's Time. It ain't gonna happen. So I went to the movies maybe a handful of times a year. I did go to see One Battle After Another because people were like, you got to go see it. I think I saw Superman and Fantastic Four.
Superman,
And I used to go every week pretty much consistently. You'd go out to the movie theater. That was kind of your thing to do. Now that's not necessarily the case. And probably for a lot of you folks, the only thing that you watch on traditional television is wrestling. Everything else you're probably streaming.
Yeah, that's totally. I would imagine so, unless you're a football fan too. That's it.
Well, yeah. So in sports, but even that, I know there's people that there's ways for it to be streaming. Like I watch sports, I watch wrestling, and that's about it on linear traditional cable.
Yeah, you think about it too, Robert. Like it was back in the 2010s, 2012 was around. The Avengers movies started coming out, and every year you would get like a superhero movie. Every year it would be that. Whereas like Batman, Dark Knight came out like 2008. You would get a Batman like every 4 years if you're lucky or something to that effect. And that whole market got way oversaturated. Hollywood came up with this formula, and it really disenchanted, I think, a lot of moviegoers to make the movie experience feel significant. And to what you're saying too, the prices go up, theaters aren't as well kept anymore. Just a lot of different aspects going on.
We also saw the pivot for it within the world of wrestling. I mean, the wrestling audience used to get exploited a hell of a lot more to go see movies. Maybe you get it WWE now once or twice a year that there's a movie that they really do a hard press on. Sure. I know Nobody 2 was pretty heavily promoted. I think Love Stinks was one of those, but it used to be the whole reason Arnold Schwarzenegger was on that episode of SmackDown was to promote the movie End of Days.
That's right. Yeah.
We got my all-time favorite, which was the Jeremy Piven Summerfest, where he was promoting that used car movie that he made, The Goods.
Oh,
why it sticks with me, I don't know. And of course, Ben Stiller and the cast of Mystery Men on an episode of Raw where they didn't want to be there. They didn't care. Granted, they put him with Jeff Jarrett, so of course he wasn't going to care. But we were the marks for the movie world of like, well, they got a captive audience. We're just going to plug it. Now, when you watch WWE programming, there's hardly ever advertising for an in-theater motion picture.
Robert, you forgot about the biggest movie of all time.
The most biggest movie of all time?
Yes. The Three Stooges remake.
Yes. The Three Stooges. Well, no, we all know the biggest movie promoted of all time debuted on May 19th.
Oh, yes.
See No Evil.
Correct.
Yes.
Being corrected.
But yeah, the Paramount Netflix deal, one way or another, will have some impact on the wrestling sphere. It'll be interesting to see where it lands. And again, the big winner continues to be our friends at Total Nonstop Action.
That is surely the case, Robert. And hey, Carlos Silva happened to be on Ariel Helwani and made some comments about adding some clarity to the relationship with WWE, citing that it's still very positive. There's zero there actual factual anything to that statement regarding what Ariel Helwani had to say about like that deal, like controversy between them and WWE. Things are going great. I mean, Leon Slater was on CW last night in an 8-way on the NXT show. Li Ying just won the belt back at Madison Square Garden just a few weeks ago. Things are great. He also added to that being on WWE programming really helped put an eye out there for AMC to accrue them. So he credits WWE for that. So he's setting a positive relationship. Do you think this is all copacetic between TNA and WWE, Robert, or is this just kind of placating?
I think it's fairly copacetic because WWE does not have a television program that airs on Thursday nights, and they don't have a singular media empire that they need to kowtow to. When WWE was under the thumb of Paramount, they needed to be a lot more careful around where they were cross promoting. So with Paramount, they had obviously the Spike TV relationship, the MTV relationship, the Simon and Schuster relationship, the way that the music was being released, the movies that were being promoted on WWE programming, all sort of had to be under that Paramount banner and keeping Paramount very, very happy in that short window of time in which those two had that relationship. Now, WWE is Switzerland. They are fairly agnostic. So if they can drive people to watch TNA, and TNA does better numbers, and they are a friendly to WWE, it further kind of hurts AEW, which, whether Hunter wants to admit it or not, is a benefit to World Wrestling Entertainment, because AEW in their mind is adversarial.
Mm-hmm. I know, and yeah, you just mentioned it too, just how Switzerland WWE is. It's a great spot for WWE to be in, because maybe one shoe drops, say something falls through with Netflix, or ESPN really doesn't like working with WWE, and something bad happens with that. They have other things that they can rely on and go somewhere else too.
It's why I was so surprised that they did the Peacock deal, because the whole reason in building the WWE network years ago, what we had discussed when we were building WWE 24/7 to be the underlying engine for it, was if for whatever reason we needed to pull the plug on everything else, we just have our own platform.
Mm-hmm.
And we could air Raw, we could air SmackDown, we could air pay-per-views everywhere in a self-contained streaming whatever platform. WWE Network going away and being part of Peacock, and we don't know where it's ultimately going to land. They are somewhat beholden, but media companies are still willing to pay for professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. It is one of the few annuities that are still out there that they still see not only an inherent value, there's very little oversight and control. That yes, on to some extent, they want big numbers, they want something to feel impactful, but they are not coming in at a granular level and making the sorts of asks that you're hearing from other outlets and entities in terms of media control. They're not saying, "Hey, segment 2, we need Lyra Valkyria out there for 11 minutes and not 12 minutes based on this algorithm." They're just like, "Nope, you guys do your thing. If you're bringing us the numbers, we're going to be fine, and if you're not, we're going to go our separate ways." And there's enough platforms out there. WWE will always kind of wind up landing on its feet.
Yeah, for sure. It's you put yourself in that position, and you get that ultimate kind of autonomy to do what you want in certain ways. All right, Robert, let's preview Raw. Oh, yes. Do you have real quick thoughts on SmackDown? Obviously, Gunther advanced. He defeated LA Knight. That was the big takeaway from Friday night. But any other quick takeaways you have from SmackDown?
The MFT's Wyatt 6 showdown went so much better than it had any right to. That crowd was super into it. They all loved it. I am a little, we said one of the big questions was, what are they going to do with Cody and what are they going to do with Drew? And guess what? We're just going to do more Cody and Drew. So there's that.
Yeah, not probably the best route, but let's see what happens on.
It's fine, but we got Raw tonight. It's the last Raw in which John Cena is technically an active member of the roster, Dom.
He's not scheduled for it, though, but Gunther is scheduled for it. He's set to appear. What would you have Gunther do here on Raw to kind of bring in the hometown thing about Cena's last match coming up?
I mean, he should bring in Denoise and DeFunk, so maybe he'll put some trash can lids on his feet and he'll do some tap dancing for us.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure it'll be something along the lines of "I must break you." If there's as cheating as it is, as pandering as it is, I would throw R-Truth out there and let Gunther murder him.
Okay.
Let's go full Rocky. Let's go full Rocky 4.
All right. I could get behind that.
He's Ron Cena. This is hey, my last time is now, and I wanted to face John and I didn't get to, and you get this opportunity, and Gunther just straight up murders him.
How overall do you feel about Gunther being his final opponent, Cena's?
Who else could it have been?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I think we got in the last year, we got one last Brock Lesnar match. We got one last Randy Orton match. We got one last CM Punk match. We got a Cody match. in terms of a guy who was really going to benefit from the rub. We already saw John Cena versus Solo. We've seen John Cena versus Austin Theory. Gunther was sort of the last guy, maybe with the exception of Braun Breaker, who hasn't had that opportunity with John Cena, and it can be meaningful and important. And Braun Breaker is clearly doing his own thing that's meaningful and important. So let's give Gunther that stamp of approval that audience, whether he wins or loses, the fact that this was John Cena's handpicked opponent says everything that you need to know about how John views Gunther and how the WWE views Gunther going forward.
Well, we'll preview that Saturday night's main event coming up here nearing the end of the week. So we'll give our predictions then. But we do have Stephanie McClure is also set to appear, Robert. What's next for her? She's got, who is next on her? Oh, Liv Morgan maybe, right?
Liv Morgan has been targeting Stephanie McClure, so that'll be really interesting to see where that ultimately goes. There is always the possibility that they just take a flyer and say, well, we're going to get to the Royal Rumble, and we're just going to let challenger after challenger sort of start mounting against Stephanie. So it feels like she has this whole rogues gallery of people coming after her. Yep. Whereas the tag division sort of has become the main focus. I'm sure completely unrelated to the fact that AEW is doing a tag title tournament.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. Speaking of the women's roster, we got Roxanne Perez. She's going to go up against Lyra Valkyria as well, Robert, on tap tonight.
Well, that'll further the tag situation with all these different teams going after the Kabuki Warriors. But you did see Judgment Day attack the Kabuki Warriors. There is no honor amongst thieves. So all the women want the tag titles. Nothing wrong with that. And it's the benefit of having them be on two brands that you can literally just bring in everybody on the roster and let them all go at it.
Let them, yep. More tag action. It's the WWE World Tag Team Championships. Dragon Lee and AJ Styles, are champions. They're going up against the War Raiders. They're back together. We thought one was hurt. They're not. They're back in the mix. What do you do with this one here, Robert?
No reason to change course. I think it'll be a fun match. It should be a pretty spirited match. Just to remind people, hey, we do have tag team wrestling here, so let AJ and Dragon get a nice little win, and then move on to I don't know who.
I don't know
who really there is on the tag division.
I got no clue. And then finally, Robert, Judgment Day represented again. We got Finn Balor. He's taking on Rey Mysterio.
This is to get us to the inevitable Dom versus Rey match. Totally fine. I'm sure there will be, at some point on that show, a Vision promo. Maybe they finally reveal who the masked guy is. I think the longer this goes, the worse it's going to be, just because we know that the ultimate, it was me, Austin. It was me all along.
Yeah, I'm with you. They got to do it sooner than later. So hopefully we'll get it tonight.
It's kind of an but it's not an is being able to be here every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, as we are on a plethora of platforms, including WWE Creative _ISH X account, the @Dominic D'Angelo X account, the @SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo, Podcast Heat, and ad-free shows. So on behalf of the most homeless-looking wrestling producer in all of podcasting, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh.